Remember to always be afraid of the boogeyman. He's always just around the corner, just right there, just out of eyesight, just on the very edge of your peripheral vision, but always ready, always close enough to just strike you. And isn't that the way the New World Order has always seemed? The big conspiracy about the one world totalitarian government that's coming to change our lives and put microchips in our hands and put tattoos on us of barcodes and make it the mark of the beast and the one world government order that we're all going to have to live without any say in it whatsoever. And it's going to be undemocratic, unelected. And that's what makes it really scary, is the totalitarianism. But what's really scary about it is that it's always just right there. It's always right on the verge of happening, but doesn't actually happen. You know what I mean? It's always that threat, that very imminent, immediate, real threat that just never quite manages to materialize. I've heard recordings about the New World Order and warning about it, saying that it's going to come somewhere around the end of 1976. Now, as you can see, it's been significantly longer than that. And remember how it was going to come in with George Bush and the and right, I can kind of see why people thought that, because of the absolutely draconian security measures that his government was putting in that continued under those that came after him. And then some said it was going to come with Obama. Obama's going to be the one to do it because he's black. A Democrat, and Democrats are totalitarian because it's vaguely resembles this thing that I don't like. And remember when, for those of you who can, remember when Obama was running for office, how much he's a socialist, and how much the FEMA camps were a big thing, and all the paranoia and hysteria around those, and the Atlas burial chambers, which were cheap disposable coffins, and how those had been sent to these FEMA camps. And FEMA camps exist. I mean, there's no, it's not like that's made up. There are FEMA centers. I wouldn't necessarily know if you call them camps or not, but there are emergency situations, emergency provisions, and emergency protocols in place to deal with just about anything that could possibly go wrong. But remember how it was always right there on the verge of happening. And then all of a sudden, when it became clear after Obama's election that maybe Obama's not going to be the guy to bring it in, and then we didn't have this paranoia over Donald Trump. Remember that? All of a sudden, all the New World Order stuff just mysteriously just diffused away, almost never to be seen again. And remember, this was also around the time that Alex Jones stopped pushing much of the NWO stuff. And he's always been saying that the New World Order is right there, ready to take over at any moment, and our lives are going to change forever. But you notice that was about the time he started talking about the Fed. And the Federal Reserve was the center of all evil, and it was controlling everything, because if you control the people's money, you can control everything about them. Or that if the country is in debt to these ill-defined individuals, whatever they may be in any particular person's opinion, that somehow they have control over the world or control over the United States, which has always been funny to me, because what exactly are they going to do? What, are they going to call in all of that debt and just bankrupt the United States and destroy their entire base of power? Or do that and destroy the entire global economy, taking away their own power? It's nuts. It's just not going to happen. But remember that how it's always just there and just right around the corner. All it takes is the wrong person to get elected. And then, of course, the elections are rigged and the person's always chosen. But it's the wrong person getting elected that's going to cause this to happen. So basically, we've seen there's a lot of absolute nonsense surrounding the New World Order and what's going to bring it about and what it's going to be and how it's going to control us and do to our lives and all sorts of kinds of paranoia. But when the truth is, The New World Order already happened. It did. Right around 1776. That shift of power from the east to the west, from the British Empire to the burgeoning US Empire, that was the New World Order. The new order of the world that was American dominance, American exceptionalism, American hegemony that we've been living with for hundreds of years ever since. Why is it that the dollar says Novo Ordo Seclorum? I believe so, like our endeavor is complete or something like that. As it is. The power of the monarchy had been broken in the United States, and now was the rise of the bourgeoisie over the old aristocracy. The old aristocracy, the feudal era, giving birth to the capitalist era. That was the New World Order. That was when everything changed. It wasn't quite the totalitarian nightmare that's portrayed in popular media and very questionable individuals on the internet, etc. But there it was. It had already happened. The great fear that largely Americans have of this New World Order has already taken place and has already been in front of our eyes for hundreds of years, long before any of us were ever born, long before our grandparents were born. But here's the funny part. There is another New World Order coming. A new World Order, if that's the term you want to use. I think the term New World Order is good enough. And that's the shifting of the global order from the West back to the East. I mean, you have to be living under a log or a rock to not notice the rising power of China and its infiltration into Africa and its control over Africa's resources and African infrastructure, etc. The rise of the global dominance of China in rival to the United States, the willingness of Russia to stand against the United States and having the power to legitimately do so after having been devastated so harshly under the shock reforms of what Russia went through with the dismantling of socialism. Another irony being that the New World Order was going to be socialism while socialism was being completely dismantled. But I digress. But we can see this. We can see how the world is changing. We can see how the global economic order is shifting from the West to the East, and how increasingly desperate the United States is to hold on to what little power that it has left. And it's still a significant amount of power, but it's not the amount of power it used to have. Think about how much it's letting Israel get away with. At no point has the U.S. said, pull back, stop doing, a genocide, or else we'll stop sending you weapons and aid, etc. If they had half a brain, they would just do that. Just tell Israel it's gone too far, let them keep the amount of land that they've already stolen from the Palestinians in this genocidal crusade and whatnot, and then everything could go back to relative normal. But they're not. They're letting it go. Which leads me to believe that they're probably hoping that the Palestinian resistance will be exterminated and there will be nothing left but a permanent flag of Israel implanted on that land as a U.S. ally forever. And that being because Israel is America. Is it not a white settler colonial project designed to take land away from native people? That is America. That is Canada. That is Australia. But the whole global order is shifting from west back to the east. The cliche of the Chinese dragon waking up and is going to roar and all kinds of metaphorical nonsense. But we see it. The creation of BRICS and BRICS becoming a significant power. I mean, for the longest time, BRICS didn't really mean anything. It was just it was kind of a pet project. But now it's got some serious power. It's got some serious teeth. And it's something that's going to start challenging the IMF. And the IMF never envisioned anything ever challenging it before, or more specifically, not the IMF, but the World Bank. Pardon me, I should say the World Bank. World Bank, which has never been anything of a conspiracy. It's a global bank meant to do global payment systems under the control of the United States to bully people who don't respond to U.S. policy or U.S. demands. That's no conspiracy. That's obvious. It's blatantly in your face and nothing more than just general, typical imperialism. There's no need for any in-depth analysis or conspiratorial thinking. It's all very bright, wide, right in the open. Very obvious. The U.S. doesn't even try to cover it up or even pretend that it's anything else. But that challenge to it is coming from the BRICS countries. And that's where we are now. That shift of power is going from the West back to the East. And that's the new world order that's coming. Is it one we should be afraid of? I think so. I don't think this is going to be any better than what it is that the United States has already been doing. Imperialism is imperialism regardless of who's doing it. And there is no such thing as a capitalism without imperialism anymore, because it's a stage of monopoly capital, and you can't go backwards. You can't undo monopoly. You can only destroy the economy and have to start over. There is no capital only gets to a certain point and then just stops. If we could make capitalist countries just not do imperialism, there's no such thing. It has to. There's the whole massive tomes that Lenin wrote about why this is not possible, why this doesn't happen, and why you can't just vote it away, as some very poor, deluded individuals seem to think that they can do in the United States. But have no illusions. It's coming. And it isn't going to be any better. Already there are African countries railing against the Chinese, wanting them to stop their imperialist expansion into Africa. It's not going to get any better. The only question is, will it get any worse?
Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.